Okay, so last video we talked about the ammonia outbreak in the 20-gallon rimless plant tank with it housing a Amazon puffer. And obviously, and I think at the end of the video I said everything's basically back to normal as it seems. But I think it had to be the beginning of this week, or it might have been yesterday that I checked, or I think it was actually Sunday. I checked and it's back up to point five, um, not quite one. Like it was at one when the first all started, but it went back up again a little bit, and so I did another 50% water change, got it back down to zero again, and so I basically started like figuring out basically what's just causing it because clearly it's something, and so. I'm gonna make a video on different things that cause ammonia, but just to keep it short here, I basically was looking at plants, and the light ain't on right now because the timer it doesn't come on for like another 4 hours. But um, I was looking at the plants, seeing like is there any dead plants that are just causing ammonia, and I was looking at them. Not really. There's nothing really in here that can affect it. And then I looked at the substrate. I actually kind of gravel vac the substrate, not actually physically, just like sand, just kind of light, just to skim the top a little bit, just to get whatever cruds on the top. And so I did that, and then it still seemed to be fine. I just don't think I solved the problem. And then I kind of realized, I kind of thought about something when we were first cycling this tank, um, and I put this filter on the Alkaclear 30. Um, we let it cycle. I put media from the 40 gallon into this, so help it cycle. And then also I used the water from that big tank to here. So basically, I mean, we should have had an already cycled tank. Also, we still let it sat for like about a month, and a month went by, which is about the time I mean, it really should have only took 2 weeks at the most, but a month went by, and we still had ammonia in the tank, a bunch of ammonia, about zero point 0.5 to 1 at the time. And then so I wait even longer. So to fast forward, 2 months went by, and not really any different. I mean, it's a little bit better, but we're still having a little bit of we still have ammonia in the tank for sure. And it's just like, well, how is there still ammonia? I mean, it should have been cycling now. I dumped a whole bottle of stability in this tank when I first started. The filters, everything in the filters already cycled. So you know, by the time the ammonia was actually to zero, it's 3 months have went by. So it took 3 months to cycle this tank, or at least until I stocked it, um, or comfortable stocking the tank with anything really. It was just plants and that's it. And so it kind of made me think. It took that long to cycle it, and I kind of checked briefly after that, and it was still zero. So the tank looked like it was fine, but at the same time there wasn't fish in it yet. So I was kind of just feeding the ammonia, putting fish food, doing stuff like that, just kind of helping it a little bit, and nothing was really working. And I kind of realized it took this long to cycle, and I never really checked it afterwards, not very often. And when I did, it usually was fine, but it took this long to cycle. It must have never actually, there must have never been enough bacteria in the tank to even carry the capacity of this tank. Um, and I think this entire time there's actually been ammonia in this tank, but the reason everything like the fish and livestock that are in here was doing okay was because I was doing those weekly water changes. So I think that's what was saving the tank. And I never really checked, and I'll be honest, I never checked in months after it did cycle. And so I think this entire time, without even realizing, this thing's been full of ammonia. It's just it finally started affecting the fish, and then I finally started to check in, and it was way high. And so I think it came to conclusion that it took that long to cycle. So if we think about it, I don't think there was ever enough bacteria to even carry the capacity of this tank. And so what I did, and you probably already saw it, I got another Alkaclear, and this time I got an Alkaclear 50 for this tank. So now we got a 30 and 50, which is a lot of filter for this tank. It pretty much is, but um, basically right now I just have it same step as that, I have a sponge. Actually, I think it's the sponge and then biomax, or the biological media in there on the top. That's basically all I have in there right now. But I think I plan to actually tomorrow when I do my water changes, to do what I did on the 40 and make this just the biological filter because it's bigger and it can hold a lot of stuff. And you can see I have it on low. Just there's gonna be way too much flow if I have these on full blast, both of them, and the puffer he doesn't really like that, and it's hard for him to swim. So this will stay on low, but this will basically just be our biomass, and then all this will hold like our sponges and all that. And basically the only just like just like this tank, we basically only clean that filter and leave that one alone because that's what holds our biological media. Obviously we rinse it out here maybe once a month just to get kind of the crud out of there, and the idea of a sponge in that one, so I kind of here and there rinse out that sponge inside there, and I'll probably do the same here. I actually have an old sponge in the middle. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I got one of the old sponge. So I might so I could separate the two bags of media in there. So I'll have media, sponge media, and this will basically be our big house for biological. And the sponge is not very like coarse, so it's pretty. It's more of a sponge meant for like bigger fish like cichlids and bass. Or just really monster fish in general. So a sponge will work well. It won't clog very easily, so it'll be able to kind of build bacteria on that too. So everything in here will just be for building bacteria, and this will just be our sponges, in our pinky filter, and this will be what kind of clears up the tank and cleans it pretty good. So I've always liked that idea, and if you guys ever starting out or really just want to know kind of a filter setup for your tank, I always recommend that having two filters, one that you don't touch at all. So it's kind of easy just because a lot of beginners, especially me, and I'm still doing it to this day. Sometimes I'll over clean, and then your tank turns white cloud, and you have to wait for the tank to almost recycle basically, and we don't want that. So it makes it easier for me that I can just know that I don't need to do anything to this filter. Just leave it running, clean the impeller where it needs to be cleaned, and just leave this alone. This what keeps all our bacteria, so the tank never gets messed up. And then we have this, which is just basically just sponge and whatever filter media we want in here that helps clean. Which this will just have pinky filter and sponges. Don't want to get too crazy with different weird stuff with it being a plant tank. Kind of keep it simple. Plants are already doing filtration as themselves, so yeah, this tank's turned into a tank really. I mean, you can see how big it is. We got this two huge filters. Not huge, but that one filter is kind of weird. That one filter just made this whole tank look huge. All this equipment on it, but hopefully eventually I can kind of get, because this stand is really not that tall, so I don't know if I'll ever be able to put a canister in this tank, but it would be nice to eventually put a canister instead, and then put some glass intake and outputs on here just to keep it nicer. But who knows? That ain't bad. Just having two filters like that. In the next tank, I don't know, just depending. Depending on the stand, I might do a canister. I might do a same setup here. I'll probably do a canister. Do something that's nice and simple. But yeah, that's all I want to share with you guys today. I know the lights weren't on, so you couldn't really see the tank, but just kind of giving you guys a little update on everything, and showing that I purchased another filter, and so far it's working. Well, I can't really say that yet, but we'll see what happens once that's kind of established after about a month. We'll just see if that was a problem and see if it solved it. But other than that, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.